Okay, we are going to get started. Thank you all for making time to participate in the Tri-HCC training for our RC wind packet system. Just to go over a few housekeeping items, I'll introduce myself. I'm Zach Ravine, Kilo Mike 6, Golf Delta Bravo.
Bob Nelson, Nelson. I'm KA6NSN.
So thank you all for joining us. Just to go over a couple of the functions of this webinar. Again, we are recording this and we'll be making it available. We have two methods for how you can communicate with us. We do have a chat box, and if you want to practice, you can take your cursor, go to the top of your screen, and hover over, just move your cursor up to where the green and red bar are. And if you go to the right with the more and three dots, hover over that, you should be able to go down to the chat option. You can also initialize the chat option by hitting Alt and the H key. And if you want to enter questions there, we'll pause periodically through the presentation and answer those. If you would prefer to ask your question by voice, just type us a quick message and say, hey, can you unmute me when we move to questions? And we'll open the line. We want to make sure that people get all their questions answered today. So just a brief overview of what we're doing. So just for the purposes of this training being very basic, this is RC Wind Packet 101. What is packet radio? To answer that briefly, it is a digital radio system similar to computer networking. It's transmitted over the VHF frequency, and it allows us to add more redundancy to our communication. So not just radio voice transmission, but the digital transfer of information. Why have we included packet radio in the Tri-HCC project? One advantage of this system, again, as a redundancy, is the ability to send and receive text. So we can send something to a mailbox that sits there and waits for you. You don't have to be in the room next to the radio and check it at your leisure. It also allows us to copy and paste a large amount of information into a printable document, so that when we do have an emergency situation and there's lots of information that needs to be conveyed, we can do that a little bit more quickly than filling out a script. I know that our Tri-HCC members have the RC Wind Packet software downloaded already onto their equipment, and hopefully you've been playing around with it. If you are watching this sometime in the future and don't have that installed, you can do a quick Google search on RC Wind Packet, not RC Wind Pack, Wind Packet. And there should be a search hit from Colorado that has the installation instructions, and it's a free software. But most folks are pretty much ready to go. As a reminder, before we get into the heart of this presentation, we are dealing with healthcare scenarios, and just a reminder about HIPAA and the importance of not sharing or transmitting personal health information. Everything needs to be anonymous, and we just want to maintain standards. There will be HIPAA training made available here soon as part of the series of getting this redundancy going. So I see Portola's using the chat function. That's great. Okay, unless there are any questions before we get started, you can either put it in the chat box or tell us to unmute your line. If I don't see anything else here in a second or two, we're going to go ahead and get started. Lori Beatley did send a document out via email, and that is the document that we're basically using as our quote-unquote script for this presentation. So if you have that on your computer screen, or if you have that printed out, please follow along. Those are the instructions, again, for RC Wind Packet 101, very basic functions. So to go through that document, pardon me, let me pause. If during this presentation you experience any technical difficulties, I did this up top, but check the chat box. If you have technical difficulties, if you can't hear us, if something's going sideways with the software, you can communicate with Melody Bennett at area 530-283-7098. She'll be able to help you out if you are experiencing difficulties. With nothing heard, we will move through this document. So there are two basic functions of packet radio. The first is to leave a message in a mailbox, and the second is keyboard to keyboard communication. Rough analogy to this is it's like sending an email to somebody, or the second function would be similar to sending instant messages to another person using another system. We're doing this via radio. So to begin, let's follow the steps for sending and receiving messages from a mailbox, otherwise known as the bulletin board system, the PBS. So I'm going to narrate the steps in this process, and Bob will be running through. We will be sharing our screen is shared. So you will be seeing what you should be seeing as you walk through these steps at your own computer situation. So of course, we're not going to be able to show you how to turn on your computer, wait for the boot up, log on. We do want to make sure that you ensure that caps lock is on. All of the commands that we'll be showing you and running through should be in caps. Also very important, make sure that your radio equipment is on. Turn on the power supply, make sure that the radio is turned on, make sure that the TNC is turned on, and confirm for our purposes that your frequency is 145.050, or if you have alphanumeric characters on your radio, it would be Alpha Charlie 05. So with all of our equipment ready to go, we're going to go ahead and log into RC WinPacket. So Bob, if you want to show us how we get started with being in the software.
Okay, first make sure you're in command mode. And then just to make sure you have the right call letters on the machine, whoever's the control operator should have his call letters there. Type my and hit enter. And this prompt showed us that the owner of this machine is K6PLU. That's the club call. If you have to change that, you type my and then space and whatever call letters you want it to have. Do you want to do my P also?
Maybe let's start with what the
Okay.
very first would be.
That's just for the keyboard mode. The mailbox, another thing. Then where are we here?
So we should have the login script will appear when you double click on the RC WinPacket icon. We're already in RC WinPacket, so we just need to make sure that we get the login script.
So when you first turn it on, you get something that looks like that. Fills up your screen. So when you first turn on RC WinPacket, it's good to go up to your options and hit clear screen and get rid of all.
So that's, you know, that you've initialized correctly when you see those things. So Bob just went through the my to verify where we were.
Okay.
And then we are going to click on connect in the top toolbar and choose the call sign of the intended recipient. So this is the person that you want to send a message to. So we will be sending a message via radio to the person's mailbox.
We know we can hit PDH, so why don't we send one to them?
Okay.
There should be a whole menu drop down. If there isn't one, you can make one. Whatever you type in there, there's the option to add the list. This list already has a bunch of things on it, among which I can send you a copy of the script here, and you can put it on the program. You know all this stuff. Health. We want to look for Plumas District Hospital. There's the PDH mailbox. PDH keyboard. If we just wanted to talk to somebody that's sitting there at the machine, that's what we'd look for, the PDH keyboard, which is basically just the call letters assigned to that machine, which is KM6GDB. And click connect.
Maybe let's try to send a message by going to the PDH mailbox.
Oh, okay, I see that. That's good.
Because we'll do keyboard to keyboard of Northeastern.
Okay.
So we're gonna go to connect at the top of the toolbar and go to the drop-down list that Bob had up. And we're gonna go to PDH hospital or mailbox rather.
Okay. That would be down here right where I left it somewhere. PDH mailbox.
Okay. So now we are connecting to a mailbox. So this is the first of our capabilities with the packet system, is leaving and receiving messages in a mailbox.
This was already connected apparently and was not disconnected. So that's the message you get if you fail to disconnect from a mailbox. And it won't let you connect again. So we're gonna, now that it's disconnected, we're gonna try it one more time. Go to connect. We'll find PDH mailbox. Now. Okay. Hey, connected to PDH mailbox, and you get this little menu down here. That says B for buy. And a J means if you hit that, it'll tell you who it hears or who it has heard, so that you can reach or send a message to. K means kill. L means list. R means read. And S means send.
So we're gonna try to read a message, and first we need to list a message. So Bob's gonna type in L.
Wait a L and just that's it. Obviously, I didn't turn on my caps key like I was supposed to. But it works anyway. There. Those are the messages that the PDH mailbox.
So we are now currently seeing the messages that are in the PDH mailbox. Now we want to read one of those messages. Bob, can you walk us through typing in R, the message number, and enter?
Okay, you can read any messages that are addressed by you, and it knows who's logged on. It knows that we're K6POU, or that was sent by you. We can read all these messages because they involve K6POU. So let's read 14 because it's a big long one.
So we're typing in the toolbar at the bottom, R, space, and then the number of the message you want to read.
Yep.
And you type in enter.
And this is what a sit rep would be. It's a lot of data, so you might want to prepare it ahead of time and copy it to a pile. We'll show you how to do that later. If we're keyboard to keyboard, or even with this, you can just type it in by hand.
So this, all of the information that just popped up on the screen, that's basically the information that had been sent to the PDH mailbox. We're now reading it from the PDH mailbox. And at the end of this presentation, we're gonna walk through how to copy and print this information directly from the system. But everyone now has seen how to log into a mailbox, how to list the messages that are in that mailbox, and how to read one of those messages or all of those in sequence, following those same steps.
If you don't have your connect menu all filled out like this one is, and you know whose name is on the machine, your target machine, usually that call letter -1 is their mailbox.
So we just went through how to read messages. Bob, I'd like to now walk through step 5 of this first section on how to send messages to BBS.
Okay, should I clear the screen?
Clear screen, please.
Okay.
So options, clear screen. So we're logged in, and we should have the, maybe we shouldn't clear the screen because we need the prompt menu.
We still need to go by. There. That illustrates an important thing that most people forget. I just did. You have to disconnect from the mailbox. Otherwise, you're still connected to somebody like we were at the beginning of this session. But now we're all disconnected and we're free to do whatever we want.
So we're going to have to reconnect to be able to send a message to the bulletin board system. Can you walk us through how to send a message to, since we know we can connect to the PDH mailbox, we'll go through the same steps again.
Yeah, well, you can connect to whoever you can reach. And then from here, unless you go through a node, it's either PDH or the Mount Hoof. machine, and there's a lot more memory on PDH, so let's play with that.
Okay. So we're going to go back up to connect. We're going to hit the drop down menu, go to PDH mailbox. And then we're going to connect. That'll give us our prompt menu. And so you see that bottom line says enter command BJKLRS or help. That confirms that you are connected. So now to send a message to PDH, we just read them, and now we're sending. We're going to type S into the toolbar.
And the call letters of PDH. You can just type PDH. Type S, then AI6 GDB.
Kilo Mike 6 Golf Delta Bravo. Mike. Kilo Mike.
Oh. Sorry, folks. M6 Golf Delta Bravo. -1 is the mailbox. So we're going to send, well, we already know we're in the mailbox. Okay, we're going to send.
So that S command and entering with the call signs of the intended recipient prompts you with the subject. So for the purposes of the Tri-HCC work, the subject line, exactly as it is in an email, is important for you to know and the recipient to know what information you're sharing. So we'll have a standard protocol. But for right now, we're going to just type our technical ID and message number. So that would be our SITREP number. So Bob, can you enter just a example for us?
Okay, we're going to do a subject, first of all. And there's 3 people that can read this message. First of all is the recipient. Then the sender can go back and read it or kill it. And the person who owns that machine can read anybody's message. Okay, our subject's going to be like, so we know this is different from all the other tests. It's the test for the webinar. Okay, now we can type anything we want in there, or we can copy from a file and paste something. We'll show you how to do that later. But for now, we're just going to type in a simple message. And it's very important when you do exercises to have the word test in there somewhere, because anybody with a packet machine can read these. And if they think that Quincy's been infested by alligators, it's all going to hit the news.
That should be our next tabletop.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Bob has just done for the previous step was put the subject the same way we would put for an email, and he's now entering the message, which would be analogous to the body of an email. So very short one just for today's purposes, but this could be an entire SITREP. It could be a very long list of information that emergency responders need to have available. So basically what we've done is put a subject and a message out, and it has gone to the intended recipient.
And then if you do a canned message, at the last line, if you have /EX, it'll actually use that to store it. It's an instruction. When it sees the /EX, you hit enter. It takes that to mean that you want to store it. And so it's saved on that mailbox now.
So that's an important final step in subject message /EX. That's the final and important step of sending that message to the mailbox, and you will get a confirmation message saved will appear on the screen.
We could do a list just to make sure it's made it. I do that a lot of times. The list.
So now Bob's similar to logging in to the mailbox to read. He's doing that same command for listing.
See, it sees our message up there. Number 15 now is test for webinar. We wanted to read it. You want to do that?
Sure, let's walk through it one more time. So now we're reading the message.
Only this time we're reading space 15, which is the one we just sent. Just make sure we got it right. If we didn't get it right, you can do a K-15, make it go away and try again.
Okay. So let's check the, let me take the mouse, Bob. Let's check the chat box. So we've just logged into a mailbox. We've read messages. We've sent messages. All of those instructions are in your document. I want to check to see if we have a chat question. Okay, so Michael, we need to correct the mailbox call sign for Michael, which we can do after the fact here. We're going to keep rolling along unless.
Well, maybe he noticed that drop-down menu was wrong.
Yeah.
But we're going to be entering his by hand anyway, so this will work.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Okay. So now let's move to the second function of RC WinPacket, which is to go keyboard to keyboard communication. So one very important thing, and you'll see this in red font with bold, and it should be underlined. It is extremely important that you disconnect from the BBS when you end your session. Failure to disconnect prevents new messages from being sent, received for the mailbox. So Bob's going to go ahead and enter B for buy. The keyboard didn't respond to that for some reason.
Because I keep hitting shift instead of enter for one thing.
One more time there. So disconnected, you always want to see disconnected. Please, please pay attention to that stuff in this process. Get in the habit of anytime you're ready to walk away from your machine or do any other action, key for buy. So now let's go to keyboard messages. As you read in the instructions, if you just wanted to sit down and go direct to somebody, you would do the same process of making sure your computer's turned on, caps lock is on, of course, radio, power supply, radio, TNC are all on, confirm frequency at 145.050, or if you have alphanumeric, it will be PAC05. You double click into the WinPacket icon on your desktop, and now we're going to go through the process of going keyboard to keyboard. Mike and crew up in Susanville have volunteered to be on the other side of things, so hopefully they'll be able to see our messages and respond in real time. So I'll go ahead and go to options, clear screen, hit yes, and then we're going to go through the process of saying my to confirm. So we're confirmed our call sign. We're going to go to the top and connect. So this is when we find the intended destination or the intended recipient, the person we want to speak with keyboard to keyboard. So even though it's in there wrong.
Yeah, see, it won't connect anyway because we can't see them. We can connect to PDH or anybody in Quincy or even Butterfly Valley, but we can't connect to Almanor or Lassen or Portola unless you go through a node. And we might, this is not simple as we'd like it to be, but if we want to talk to Linda or Michael, we're just going to have to use one of the Lassen County repeaters, but that's no big deal. Their node is ALM, and we're going to have to do that in command mode instead of drop down. So
we're going into a little bit of 201 territory here. So this is a little bit more complex than the direct radio connection, but Bob wants to demonstrate that we are able to jump through different repeaters and hit places that we can't go direct to.
I wish I could use Mountain Rose because Michael can hit Mountain Rose and talk to Lassen and Portola. We can't, and so we got to use ALM.
And we realize that there may be questions about this. We're going to get the connection and show you keyboard to keyboard, and then we can circle back and explain what we have to go through. So are we able to go keyboard to keyboard using Almanor?
Well, if we connect to Almanor, it'll tell us we're connected. And it's not telling us we're connected. I don't know if Michael can see the Mount Huff repeater. I know he can hit that. This is strange because I hit ALM from the house. No, it didn't do it. It's not hitting ALM from here. I don't know why.
Okay, so we aren't able to connect to that repeater, the Almanor repeater.
we might try Mount Huff. I don't know if Michael can hit it, but we can try. It's the same thing in command mode. Hit. This is the other repeater on top of the mountain because we're trying to hit somebody on the other side of the mountain. And this one gives you a nice little menu. ALM doesn't do that. Now, if we wanted to connect to Michael, it automatically puts you in converse. Automatically puts you in converse mode when it connects. So you only use command mode for connecting, and then now we're in converse mode. And we want to connect to Michael. Reminded us that his call letters is KI7RQ. And we're going to try and do that through the Mount Huff repeater.
So I realize this is a little bit divergent from the instructions that some folks may have in front of them, but Bob is maneuvering through this in order to get to Michael, but we want to make sure that we are connected.
We didn't have an operator within direct shot. We just do it directly to PDH or somebody else with a radio. So we have to try to go through a node, and Michael isn't seeing Mount Huff because Mount Huff is trying to talk to him. So that's what happens. And if we could hit Rose, which we probably can't, we could hit Rose. It would work like a champ. We could talk to Portola or anybody. But for some reason, we just can't do it from here.
Okay, so we're having to adapt to the situation. We had tried to set up speaking directly with Michael, keyboard to keyboard. Is there anyone on this list, Bob, that we would be able to go direct to?
I'd have to, I don't know if Linda can see, I think she can see Mount Huff and Almanor. We can try to hit Linda's machine if she's got to turn on. I'm sure she does.
I would like to just demonstrate the easiest way to do keyboard to keyboard for folks if we can do it in this session. If not, we'll have to reconvene.
Okay. Well, Rose is still trying to connect. If you hit enter, hit enter and get that command list. Sure.
Okay, so Michael in the chat box in Susanville is saying he can see our text but cannot respond.
Oh, that's weird. Well, I'm going to connect to Plumas one more time and try to connect to Linda's machine and see Plumas. Oh, thanks.
So we're reshifting. Thank you for the information, Michael. We're reshifting and connecting to Plumas. John Mitchell is receiving Rose K6PLU-15 and Portola.
Wow.
So from what I see on the screen, are we connected to Plumas?
We are.
So let's demonstrate the use of keyboard to keyboard if Linda is available.
Okay, we got our little menu. Let's see. K-I-6-Y-U-K. And if Linda's machine can see Mount Huff, then she will be connected. We're connected to Linda.
Okay, so Linda wasn't prepared to be live receiving messages, so this may or may not work, but we just manually connected after having figured out that we weren't hitting other folks. Bob is typing in a message, and we may or may not be able to see Linda respond because she may or may not be prepared to be doing this. Thank you for bearing with us, everyone.
But that's okay. We made a connection. We have to go to command mode to disconnect because we're keyboard to keyboard.
So what Bob just did is we made the link, typed in messages, and we could go back and forth like this. The messages.
Oh, there she is. Wait a minute.
Okay, so we're getting messages. Hi, Bob.
Hey, congratulations.
So this is great. It worked, and we were able to adapt and overcome, which is great.
I tried to say that in command note, so she didn't hear it. You have to be in converse mode.
Okay. Important point on the keyboard to keyboard is it needs to be in converse mode, F4. Oh, disconnected. So it looks like we're having a little bit of connection issues. But that was a very quick snippet of what would be a successful connection going keyboard to keyboard. So I think that fulfilled the purpose of what we wanted to do today. The two different modes, we have mailbox communication and we have keyboard to keyboard communication. And we've experienced some technical difficulties, which of course we expect in the event of an actual exercise or emergency. So Bob is hitting D for disconnect. And again, in large letters, please always understand that it is extremely important that you disconnect from the bulletin board system or from the keyboard at any point. If you need to leave or change tasks, please remember to disconnect. One really, and this is the last part of the instruction packet that some of you may have in front of you. Obviously, we utilize this system in order to transfer more information more quickly and efficiently. So in order to print, we have a couple options. Bob, can you run us through either print screen or copy paste?
Yeah, let's get something worth copying first.
So Bob is going to be connecting to a mailbox right now.
It just so happens up on the mountain on Mount Top, there's a message, or several. And we want to list them. So we had an L for list.
So we're running through our original scenario, connecting to a mailbox, L for list, and we should have a list of available messages.
And there's one to K6POU, which is the health department here. And it's number 40.
So we now are going to read that message because we want to print that message. So R and the number of the message you have permission to read. Okay. So this is an example of something that we might see. The thing that the information that's popping up on the screen right now is an example of something we really would be sending during either an exercise or an actual emergency. Can you run us through the two options for printing?
Yeah, if you want to print this, highlight what you want to print and go up here, print selected test. Our printer was connected.
So we would file, print selected text,
yeah,
and then go to an available device and print it out. So this would be in lieu of having to write everything on the hand. We can just select highlight, file, print selected text.
And you're going to get hard copy. Might as well print it because most of these systems are not networked into the company computers. Saving it to a file, you're still going to have to print it to get it to anybody.
The other option is to copy and paste into a standard format like a Word document. I don't think that we need to go through that now. It's the same thing that everyone's used to, selecting the text, so highlighting the text that you want to copy, Control-C, and then pasting into a Word document is probably what most people are familiar with. So Control-C, and then that's on our clipboard. We could, I don't think we need to exit the program, but we would minimize this and go to Word and print it that way. So two ways to print things.
Okay.
So are there any questions? I know we got a little bit into the technical weeds there for a minute. But I want to make sure that everyone walks away with the, let me see that mouse. I want to make sure that everyone walks away with the general understanding of, so we want to exit. So yeah. I was reminding you that we need to always exit. So we are.
That does that every once in a while. I don't know why.
We just disconnected. For the reminder, it's extremely important to disconnect. Let's check our chat. From Beatley, Lori Beatley, are you trying to email me something? If so, my email is loribeatley@countyofplumas.com. If you want that address, please check in the chat box.
I put that on there intentionally so they wouldn't have her email address. That's a like a 555-1212 thing.
Okay, so that's the nose. Okay. Lori was commenting on the fact that Bob's sample message that was in the email was not in her current email address. But I want to make sure either ask to be unmuted and we'll go live with voice, or if you want to type a question into the chat box. I want to make sure that today's lessons of being able to log into a mailbox, read messages, and send messages has been accomplished. And I want to make sure that everyone understands how the keyboard to keyboard function works. So if you have questions, please type them in now or ask to be unmuted. We'll give everyone just a minute. John Mitchell says we continue to receive the above Rose message here in Portola. No worries, but it means the message is trying to reach us.
Yeah, apparently we connected to Rose, and that was the fact that we were connected didn't make it back to us. So it'll do that for a while, and then it'll disconnect for lack of activity. I didn't know you could hit Rose from here, because usually it doesn't acknowledge from here. We can try that again as soon as we get out of the chat screen.
John, would you like us to try that again? Just to see if we can make that connection. We'll be repeating some of the steps that we just went over. Not necessary. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about the technical details of the steps we just walked through? I know that Bob is available. So Linda is asking, am I going to have to connect to either Almanor or Mount Huff in order to get to everyone? So this is part of our connectivity map that we have available.
Yes, in order to get to Quincy, like the health department or PDH, you'll have to go through Almanor or Huff. And it's lucky because you can see both of them. And I think you might be able to hit Northeastern direct, but he can also see Almanor or Mount Huff. And it's no big deal. Just type ALM for Almanor and then hit C for connect and space in his call it.
So that is, that's another level of detail that we want to provide to folks. Hold on, another message. Hi, thanks.
She can hit Northeastern direct.
She can hit Northeastern direct. That's a great preview for upcoming information about the use of nodes. We have compiled, thanks to everyone that participated in the last radio communications drill, we have a map of connecting ability from the different sites, agencies, hospitals. So we're going to throw that out, and the next training that we're going to provide is the use of nodes and how to route around things. So we experienced difficulties on today's webinar. The next webinar will provide more information about how to route around. In the meantime, if people are curious and really want to play with the system, I think I can speak on behalf of Bob as the technical expert. If there are questions, we all know to reach Bob via email. I don't want to put it on the spot, but I'm going to volunteer his success with understanding this. Node next training will, okay, John Mitchell is saying that the next training will work just fine to talk about nodes the next time he's getting messages from multiple places right now. So we're going to wrap up today's session. Please reach out to either myself or Bob. I'll put our email addresses in the chat box. But the next training we'll talk about nodes and actually address some of the issues that we faced in today's exercise of trying to connect to certain people, not being able to. So unless there are further questions, this concludes RC Win Packet 101, mailboxes and keyboard to keyboard. And I want to thank everyone for their participation. We'll make this webinar available as an archive. Thank you, Bob, and thank you to all of our folks out there. We'll talk to you all soon. I'm going to type in the email addresses. And other than that, I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon. We'll be disconnecting shortly.
Chair back if you need done.
What is your what's your
PATILLON, Enrich, IN, or EACH. .com.
okay? In the chat box. Are we here?
Are we still online?
We just disconnected.
Okay. I'll get a hold of those guys. I promised Don I'd go out there and tweak one of the machines because